Hello, welcome again. So we have the fifth session today. We are going to discuss types. So this is what we have in store for today. After a brief recap, we shall visit the different types of planning, the hierarchies, what exactly constitute vision, mission, and purpose, objectives and the characteristics, requirements of sound objectives and the advantages of having them, strategies and operational plans. That's where we will conclude. So what exactly is the nature of planning? So we that planning can be broadly articulated under four keywords. It's a rational approach. It takes us from where we are to where we want to go by some means, which are thoroughly explained by cause and effect principles. It's an open system approach wherein there are some inputs which affect the current scenario, and it's all exported to the output. So an open system, as in control systems you must have studied, is an open loop system wherein there is no feedback, the output doesn't come back. So it's basically the along with the input you have external factors coming into play, and that's what we mean by open system approach. The flexibility in planning. Yes, what is meant by flexibility in planning is the ability to change the direction and adopt to changing situations without extra cost or overheads. So plans must be flexible to adapt to changes that may come across in technology, market, finance, etc., etc. But we know that plans are pretty rigid. This is something that is undesirable in plans. So what it means by flexibility of planning is that the people who draft it are at a freedom to draft n number of plans which can be which need to be drafted to anticipate in anticipation of the changes that can happen. So these extra plans come with the overhead of extra cost. They might cost in time, they might cost in resources. Sometimes the benefit of the flexibility may not be worth the cause. So the pervasiveness of planning, the point you understand here is that it's a fundamental management function that is carried out by everybody in the organization, irrespective of his uh, cadre or level, the top management as well as the lower management, so on and so forth. So everybody needs to plan. So that's a different thing. So if we were to talk about features of planning, there are some common approaches or other common features. So we have the first 4 points already discussed. In addition to these, we can also see that all planning functions are goal oriented. That is, they are focused on achieving something. So a plan without any goals to be accomplished is almost useless exercise in time. It is pointless to go for that. Primary function. So this is a feature of planning. So unless and until a person or rather an institution has a plan, the other functions in management cannot be actually assigned or taken up. So this is what is meant by primary function. Planning is an intellectual process that requires a lot of conceptual skills, forecasting, judgment, and so on and so forth. So it's a continuous process. It is not stagnant at any point just because the people aren't around. So the fruition or the completion of planning would not be after reaching goals, but it is at the discretion of the people in the organization. So also planning involves choice. that needs to be done under careful discretion. It is an integrated process and it's futuristic in the sense that it anticipates changes, and plan is necessarily done for a future date and time, date or time, and planning. So if we do not plan, now what is it that we need to anticipate? So basically we understand that plans are important because it's a primary function without which we can't go ahead. It minimizes risk and uncertainty that comes along with um, the external factors. So it can be greatly minimized and economized. Success is guaranteed when we plan thoroughly. The attention of group goals or organizational goals are focused. The attention of the group is focused on reaching the group goals or organizational goals, and one comes across a term of management by objectives. So this system actually facilitates control, making control more effective, thereby training people into the jobs that need to be done. And the whole idea here is very well planned system put in nice order. And in such a situation, we see that the wastage or redundancies are at minimal, and thus making way for economy. So apart from this, as was told earlier, impact of change is reduced, or it acts like a cushion in case of unanticipated. So the benefits include the same points that we had spoken about. In addition to which, you see two words highlighted, that is innovation, creativity, and coordination. So innovation and creativity demand a lot of time and patience, both of which are time and patience would usually be provided for or facilitated when one plans properly and tries to schedule their time well, making way for innovation and creativity. Why is it important? Because this is a differentiator that makes the difference among the best and the rest. So coordination between entities and departments is brought on better when there is planning. So all these collectively ensure success. How does one plan? This step is actually not there in the outline that I had planned. Why have I put here? Because there is a portion that we need to actually look at in strategic planning. Uh, I just felt that probably we need to have a template as to what exactly constitutes planning, and that's why we have it here. So we need to be aware of opportunities. Well, I would say that this is the real beginning point of planning, wherein a person would be aware of, if they get talking about market and production, then consumer needs, market, competition, strengths and weaknesses of the people who constitute the organization, so on and so forth. Basically, this is an exercise in understanding the environment, both internal and external to the organization, and um, putting things in place. Establishing verifiable goals that need to be achieved. Uh, this is something that takes a lot of time, because this implies that what we want to be, what we want to accomplish, and the relation to which the market segment is. So this requires that one uh, put in a lot of time on identifying the vision and the mission of the organization, and more importantly, identifying the end points. So we start with basically identifying the constraints and assumptions. So there are assumptions that we need to make, and there are basically three types of um, planning premises: internal and external to the organization. So internal premises are like sales forecast, ability to like organize in order to get the products done, methods of design, etc. And external premises constitute the general business environment, the economic environment, technological changes, government policies, regulation, demography, so on and so forth. So apart from this, we have tangible and intangible premises that relate to the fact that things that can be quantified or typified by numbers, like increase in population, industry demands, etc. Those that cannot be, like political stabilities or other instabilities, sociological factors, attitudes, behaviors, qualities, these cannot be quantified. So these come under intangible premises, or these are the assumptions that we make. On the other hand, we have a third type, that is the controllable and non-controllable premises. Here, controllable things are things that we can actually modify. So skills of the labor that we have uh, brought in, resources. And on the other hand, uncontrollable factors are like wars, calamities, legislation, things over which we have absolutely no control. So these are the assumptions we make, and we also need to decide on the planning period. So what it means is, factors that influence the period would be the lead time in development, commercialization of the product, the time required for recovering capital investment, or the payback period, the length of commitment that is already made for customers, like we would be doing it in a set given time. So these things constitute the planning period. So this is absolutely essential that one does it well before hand, and not have a rough idea, but one makes a detailed uh, calculation about it. Identifying alternatives is the next step. So more often than not, changes keep happening, and one needs to anticipate this and chart out different types of alternates that could be worked out. So the idea here is to evaluate the best alternate, and select it and just go ahead. So evaluation and selection is to be done in light of the premises or the assumptions that were made, the goals that need to be achieved, and of course these need to be done using quantitative techniques and not on qualitative or subjective analysis. Okay, and one can use operations research and software packages for evaluating these alternatives. So that was about alternates. Supporting plans or derivative plans are those plans that would be complementing or helping achieve the goals, but not necessarily uh, the goals that one originally started with. So these are formulated out of the main plan, and hence they are very supporting in nature. So measuring and controlling the process, one should not allow the that's the last one. So one should not allow the plan to run amok and without monitoring. So it needs to be checked at regular intervals, and the process of controlling is a part of every plan that one conceives. So that was about. So next comes the types of planning as opposed to plans. So what we have here, the first one is um, corporate or functional, based on the coverage or the of activity or the breadth of use. If we have an organization, if there are plans that encompass the whole organization, say digitization or some such thing, that pervades all departments, it would be a corporate plan. If it is affecting only one single department, then it would be a functional plan. Okay, then we have strategic or uh, uh, operational or tactical plans. Basically strategy involves a long time uh, goal that would be looking at the entire organization in perspective, whereas the tactical or operational plans are basically confined in scope to the department under consideration, and are short term goals that are actually, sorry, short term plans that are being considered. So if one were to exemplify, Then operational plans would be like adjustment of production within the available constraints of capacity, increasing the efficiency of operating activity, etc. So strategic plans are often not very detailed and do not have numbers to quantify them. They are kind of open-ended and often much more difficult to achieve. Okay, but based on time frame, we have long term and short term, and more often than not, long term plans are more on the lines of strategic plan. They are based on forecasting and often prone to changes and are uncertain and are less detailed, whereas short term plans are more detailed and would be necessarily uh, having a very high degree of control and are much more certain in terms of outcome that one can expect. And in terms of the reaction to the event, if a plan is taken up in anticipation, then it would be proactive plan, and after the event has occurred, then it would be a reactive measure or a reactive plan. So based on the number of people and the nature of the people involved, we would have a formal plan if the people involved are larger number, and where there is a higher degree or of uh, formality, where lots of important decisions are being taken. At the same time, if the scope is narrow, that and the people under the purview of this plan would be, say, within five, a handful or something, one need not go to such lengths, and it would be an informal plan. So specific plans are those that have a lot of detail, and directional plans are kind of open-ended plans with not much of specifics. Okay, based on how frequently plans are used, we can have single use and standing plans. Standing plans are plans where events occur with a very higher frequency. So that's a, now let's go this for today. So hierarchies, as you saw in the illustration earlier, we have a vision followed by mission followed by uh, objectives, strategies and policies, procedures, rules. So let's just another similar illustration, wherein instead of the very well described hierarchy, we have just four plans: strategic, tactical, operational, and contingency plans, of which the functional plans we are seeing are only the operational and the strategic plans. So the operational uh, the strategic plan involves involves fixing the mission, vision, the objectives, and the strategy. So, yeah, this illustration tells you about the same story in a much better way. If one were to talk about plans that are repetitive in nature, then we can have policies that govern it, procedures and methods and rules that are well defined. And if not, if it is of single occurrence, program, budget, and project would be describing it better. All these would be primed towards getting specific results. Okay, so this is about the hierarchy in plans as types of plans. Basically, here we have the different hierarchical structure. Operational plans would be of two types. One that occur only once, and then the other are those that occur repeatedly. So repeated occurrences are uh, put under standing plans, and we have policies, procedures, methods, and rules. Whereas in single-use plans we have programs, schedules, projects, and budgets. Okay. So now we will be looking at vision, mission and purpose. So constitutes a vision. Basically, it is a dream that somebody dreams about his or her venture. The founders of the startup basically think of the direction in which their business would be going. It is a plan at the top of the hierarchy, and it encapsulates, okay, his aspirations, beliefs and values, and the shape of the organization strategy. It's an ongoing process. It keeps on going. So the vision gets reshaped or reframed pretty often, but not at a very regular frequency. It takes a lot of time, not as a daily occurrence, but probably say over a period of 5 to 10 years or so. Okay, so it is brief, focused, clear and inspirational. This is how it is characterized. Vision statements are often very uh, brief. Okay, and the other thing that one needs to remember here is it is linked to customers needs. What a customer wishes, okay, would be answered in a vision statement, and it basically conveys a strategy that one takes up for achieving the mission. Looking at a vision statement, exactly the company is doing. So here we have the mission and the purpose of the company. So what is a mission? A mission statement is a unique aim that sets the organization apart and says what it can be for the society at large. So it's an organization specialization. Mission statements guide the development of strategies, and they establish the context in which the routine decisions are being made, and set some limits for the strategic options that will be taken up. So this is about mission. Then what is purpose? The purpose of an organization is basically, though it is used in the same meaning as mission, purpose describes how the contribution is being made. Purpose describes how the company does what it does. It defines the business, okay, that the company actually undertakes. So more later. So mission statement, just to exemplify, I took a company, Hindustan Lever Limited, which ceased to exist in 2009, but the company philosophy remained the same. So I just wanted to have a look as to what is the transition. So even before HLL transited to HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited, uh, the major focus was on people's lives, people at the grassroots level, okay, generating employment, develop backward area, and improve agricultural linkages and exports. So the point here that I'm trying to make is the mission statement is focusing more on people, okay, and the value addition that it's trying to do. And the purpose of the company was clearly on giving branded products and services and improving the quality of life of people, okay, everywhere in India. Okay, so this was the mission and purpose of Hindustan. About 2009, when to Unilever Limited, we see that the vision changed to profitable growth, decoupling environmental footprint with positive social impact. Okay, this was by the mission of adding vitality to life. Okay, so the customer was still the focus, but there was a deviation wherein the idea of quality, okay, has not been that very central. Okay, and this is typified more in the purpose of the company that you can actually see. Okay, so it's been taken from these websites marked. Okay, just let's have a look. So the local culture, okay, what they have tried to do is get service to the customers in a truly multi-local, multinational form, and maintaining high standards of performance and productivity, as well as a corporate behavior for dealing with people at work inside and outside the organization. So the focus again has not been on people and service they have been producing, but more on the company itself. Okay, so this seemed interesting, and that's why I put it on here. that was about vision, mission and purpose. Goals and objectives are taken up, okay, looking at the mission. Okay, so the other thing that I'd like to tell at this juncture is that all the other plans that are subordinate, that come after these, would be necessarily in alignment or consistent with objectives, mission and vision. This is the unified approach followed in order to the targets. So what are objectives? They are specific targets to be reached by an organization. So there is a classic example definition by Macfarlane telling that they are goals, aims or purposes that the organization wishes to achieve. Okay. So these are end points of management programs, and the organization basically tries to uh, translate, okay, the mission into concrete terms against which you can measure the results. So objectives are the milestones, okay, using which one can see how much of your jobs have been completed. So this is why objectives are very important. So we need of objectives, right? So before that, let's look at practical examples as to how objectives differ from vision and mission. So if my objective is to achieve 100% placement in the current year, okay, uh, I understand there are three things. Okay, one, I have the time period of a year and I have one target to reach. Okay, the purpose of an educational institution may be to impart education, of a bank would be to help people financially, right? So mission would be much more articulated. Say mission of an educational institution would be to provide an environment to develop educate a quality education for everybody irrespective of their background. Okay, and would be also probably to create opportunities such that people can get more knowledge and develop in all round manner. So imparting value education such that people can build a sense of integrity and honesty and ethics. So you see that while mission statements are articulate and multiple in number, you usually have a single line for vision, wherein you can't make out whether we are talking of an educational institute or something else if you would actually take out the keywords there. So if we were to take out engineering institute, then what are you left with? To be an engineering institute of highest repute and um, produce world-class engineers catering to the needs of mankind. If we were to take out engineers and engineering institutes here and substitute with anything else, you would not be able to understand whether we are talking about the same institute or not. So the point being, vision statements are brief and directional. Mission statements are more articulate. Objectives give you specific values and targets to achieve, whereas purpose tells you how one achieves the mission. Okay, so that's about what are the characteristics of objectives. So objectives are basically multiple. They are quantifiable or non-quantifiable, have a priority and arranged in hierarchies, and most importantly, many a times they might clash. Okay, so if there is a production department and a quality department, they would often be at loggerheads, because a production department has very strict stringent deadlines as regards to meeting the numbers, whereas quality has stringent deadlines to allow only certain standards of quality. So often these both conflict, and the end result is the production suffers, or rather the company suffers by not being able to send enough contingencies in time. So, what are the requirements? How should objectives be framed or drafted in order to successful project launched? Okay, so objectives must be such that there should be no ambiguity while one reads or understands that. it should be such that one can achieve it. It should be such that after achieving it, other entities within the organization should not be affected. So they should be clear such that you can have these things, and it should support one another, complement each other, and it should be in line with organization mission and consistent over a period of time. The idea here is to be able to do. So rationality and realism is very important. One cannot adopt idealistic targets to achieve. Okay, and most importantly, all objectives should be action words. That is, it should be doable. It should be things that relate to some action. Okay, and the most important here would be probably the last point, wherein the objectives should be reviewed periodically and changed as and how needed. Thing here is because of having good objectives. Okay, planning gets unified. It provides a basis for planning. There are different ways or directions in which it's being pulled, and the best part here is that objectives encourage unified planning, because at different levels and different departments we have plans, sorry, objectives, and once they are actually being framed, we all see that they are aligned towards achieving common missions. So they unify planning, and individual, they actually are motivators for individuals and departments, imbuing activity with a sense of purpose. Okay, and they facilitate coordination, as well as providing for yardstick for measuring the performance by means of control that they give, and they are able to give way for decentralizing the power and eliminate haphazard action, facilitate better management by means of better leading, guiding, and directions, as well as control, provide legitimacy to organizations' activities, and lessen or mitigate conflicts and misunderstandings. The advantages of objectives. Let's go on to strategies. We will stop today at operational plans. So let's actually quickly have a look at strategies. Be with me. Um, what constitutes a SWOT analysis? So what is a SWOT analysis? So there are two components. Basically, you have a plan that is done after an analysis of the environment for uh, scouting for the opportunities and threats that are outside of the organization, and an introspection, a deep introspection within the organization for its strengths and weaknesses to be listed out. And this plan basically tries to match, okay, the firm and the external environment. Okay, so we have an analysis and we have a plan. The outcome of the analysis is trying to match uh, the firm and the environment in such a way that you have a win-win situation. What I mean to say is, the organization is being appraised by its environment, and for political, legal factors, economic factors, competitive factors, competitive factors, social and cultural factors are not written that there, and also uh, corporate appraisal is where one tries to formulate a strategy. Um, Something like a project exhibition, you would always try to highlight your strong points, that of the components that you have rigged up and pulled on. So you would never want to highlight the weaker aspects of the project. Okay, there's a typo there, hide its, okay, the weak points. So what is the strategy one takes up to maximize the strengths and minimize or downplay the weaknesses. So basically what we are trying to do is match the strength and weaknesses with opportunities and strengths from the outside environment. So this is popularly known as the spoken about with respect we did in case of PepsiCo. So now strategic planning, what is it? Okay. So basically here we are trying to prioritize a long-term plan by examining the organization's purpose, mission, philosophy, goals, keeping in mind, okay, its external environment. It aims at creating an image for something that you would wish to have in future, right? So before we get into it, um, it is also a proactive and a future oriented activity that would encompass the whole organization, right? So this necessarily would take a long period of time to implement, and we would try to actually look at a futuristic time frame wherein we would like to achieve this. How we go about doing this is what is strategic planning. Okay, so the direction to achieve these goals is basically given by this technique. Okay, strategic planning technique, it serves as a basis for tactical or operational plans. So hence they are less specific in detail and more oriented towards ideologies. Okay, so let's see how exactly strategic planning is carried out. So this is why I had the steps of planning told first itself. While first we were the first step in planning, the zeroth step is being aware of the opportunities. In strategic planning, we need to be aware of the previous, okay, plan process and evaluate it and improve on these performances. Okay, and we need to reaffirm or realign with the vision, mission, value and objectives of the organization and review past performance, taking into account, okay, or rather trying to find out the key strengths and weaknesses. At the same time, we also need to look into the external environment and list out the opportunities and threats and evaluate them. It is not just list out but evaluate how grave is the situation. So after this, one conducts a SWOT analysis to and forecast the result as to if the current strategy is continued, what could one expect. After this, one identifies, evaluates and selects the best alternative that can be taken up using the existing or current strength. Okay. So after this, one deploys this modified plan, communicates this plan to all the people who are involved and such that they are all aligned, okay, in their actions and measuring goals through the derivative plans and programs and budgets, etc., that they take up. Okay, finally after doing all this, one needs to basically keep updating themselves as to what is being achieved and track the progress. Okay, planning period. So this was about strategic planning. Next, we have standing and single use plans that are basically operational or tactical in nature. Okay, so this is what we will be stopping today's class with. Okay, so what constitutes technical, tactical or operation planning? So how are the resources being used? How is it that the strategic planning is going to be implemented? Okay, specific details as to the overall objectives, how one would achieve, would be listed out in tactical or operational planning. Needless to say, this would be a very lengthy and more detailed document, and this would be necessarily applied for only specific parts of the organization, and unlike strategy, it would not be encompassing the whole organization. These are derived from strategic objectives, so they'll be certainly having shorter time frames and would be updated continuously to challenges. Now let's just look as to how strategic planning and operational planning differ in nature and in deployment. So first and foremost, we see that strategic planning is long-term process, okay, uh, where one would necessarily involve the organization's vision, mission, and objectives. And operational planning, one would take into account the resources for implementing this strategy, and hence it would be very short term. So people at the higher levels of management would be drafting the strategic plans, whereas those lower in the echelon in uh, management levels would be drafting the operational plans. When one emphasizes on how on doing things in a right manner, one would be looking at how effective one is, and one would be necessarily looking at the strategic outcome, whereas in operational planning one would be emphasizing on doing things rightly, okay, more efficiently. So that is the keyword in tactical planning, efficiency, and in strategic planning one would be more concerned about effectiveness of the planning. So strategic plannings are plans are more uncertain because they are more prone to unanticipated things like changes in technology, political environment, so on and so forth. But the scope for uncertainty is very very less in operational tactical plans, wherein the past performance of the organization is taken into consideration and then the plans are drafted. Needless to say, strategic plans are often with less detail as they are not involved with the daily or routine operations of the organization. And this is not true for the tactical or operational plans. Successful strategic plans would need judgment, experience, inclusion, well guided discussion with the top management team, whereas successful operational plans depend heavily on staff work and mathematical. So I'm very much indebted to your patient or listening. So what would be covered next would be the two types of operational plans, standing and single use plans. Thank you.